Hey, this is Nia Strauss, and you are watching CMS TV.
From the latest Dokken release, which is in the stores now as of yesterday, that's Just Like a Rose. And where's our guest there?
He's here. He's here. I was just waiting for you, or I popped him out because he had to jump up and get water or something, but now he's back. So
well, at least he didn't take a piss off camera like Don.
Yeah. Well, why don't you do the honors of the big build up, and then we'll bring him in. How's that?
All right. Well, once again, I'd like to welcome a good friend of mine, a guy that I've known for over 20 years. He's been in the band Dokken for 3 times longer than George Lynch.
Whoa.
And, an awesome guy, a fantastic guitarist, and just an all-around good guy in general. My good friend, Jon Levin.
There he is.
There's John. Hey, there's
How
John. There's a guy that I know pretty intimately, but not in a sexual way.
So Don had to go to the bathroom and went off camera to do that?
Yeah, he took a piss off camera a couple of weeks
ago. He did it off camera.
but he talked through it the whole time.
That's funny.
He goes, I gotta pee. He goes, don't go anywhere. But then he goes, I'm just over here just fertilizing my bushes and my trees.
Hey, sometimes when you gotta go, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
That's right.
Yeah.
So John, as always, it's good to see you again. Of course, I just saw you last weekend, and it was quite an adventurous weekend for everybody, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely a power-packed weekend, no question about that.
Yeah.
Right?
So did you sleep for 2 days when you got home?
Oof, I was so overtired that the first night I didn't actually sleep all that much, and then a couple days later it hit me oof, I am really pooped. That was a hell of a day that day. I got to tell you,
Well, what was really funny is when I was discussing the show from Saturday with you, and I said, "Man, this is 180 degrees different than the show from last night." And you go, "We played last night."
Well, that's the memory aging out of me, right?
Nice. Well, John, obviously, man, new record is out.
Finally.
We could start there. I mean, it's been done, what, a year and a half?
Yeah, it was a long time ago we finished this one. Oh, that's nice, man. Vinyl you got?
Of course it's vinyl.
Wow.
John's wishing he had a vinyl.
Yeah, one of those. They don't send me anything. I haven't even seen it yet. Is it cool?
It's very cool.
Oh, good. Okay, glad. No, I'm dead serious. I saw the album art, but I haven't seen anything else.
That's always interesting, John, that both Chris and I have talked to a lot of artists over the so many years we've been doing this show, and so many artists don't have their own product. I don't have a copy of that. I don't even have that.
I don't follow anything. I don't look at the internet. I don't do any of that, man. For me, it's something I did years ago. At this point, it was 21. I think I did that with Don.
Yeah.
Yeah, during COVID. But I don't get myself wrapped in it like that.
Well, I mean, it's
the moment in time, and I hope everyone likes it. That's just how it is. You got to. That's just how it is with any art. You paint a painting. What do you? It's great. You did the painting's nice. Hopefully, people like the painting, but I'm certainly not going to sit there and stare at the painting for 2 more years. Do another painting.
Right. Is it weird or hard to talk about it? You're doing interviews and stuff, and you're doing interviews with everybody that it's new to, and everybody's got the new excitement, and you're like, dude, that was 14 jabs and 43 masks ago.
Yeah, though I will say I've been listening to it over the past couple of months. I've listened to I don't really listen that much in the house, but I listened in my car a bunch of times. Not that I really love the album, but you have to understand, after recording it and hearing it so many times, and then the excitement of getting the final mastered stuff and listening to that so many times, there was a big gap in time that it's laid dormant until the gears of whatever it was, the record label and getting it put out. So now I went back and listened to it again, and it's amazing how you get a fresh perspective because it becomes more like a third party. You know what I mean? Like when you're writing something and you're working in the studio on stuff, and you're just trying to create a new road, so to speak. But in retrospect, now it's like time has passed. You can look back and then you listen to it with a different perspective, And it's amazing how some of the songs have like taken on a life of their own, which is really cool,
Sure. What songs for you, were like the standouts that you now listen to and you're like, all right, I really nailed that.
I heard the question. For me, the ones I seem to, you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, cool. The ones that I seem to be cycling through are, let's see, Fugitive, Gypsy, Lost in You, Never Give Up. Yeah, it seems to be like those.
Okay.
Saving Grace. Yeah, that one sounds really cool in the car. I like the guitar tone in that too. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Over the Mountain. Those are the 6 I think I've been cycling.
Those are the 6 of the 10.
But like for example, like I listened to the Fugitive one frequently, but then we shot the video for it, and then you shoot the video and you hear it 400 times or something. You know what I mean? So then I think I'm like, okay, I'll start listening to one of the other ones.
Well, John, one of the things, one of the songs, Forevermore, if you listen to that, there are remnants of the song "A Walk Away" in that song.
Forevermore. I thought that was one of the bonus ones.
It is. I know people aren't going to hear it until later, and I know that's not on the record. But speaking of that one, did you pick up that vibe at all? That it's got sort of a walk away.
The opening chords are definitely similar. So,
good
there. Yeah.
Now, did you have anything directly and personal with writing that, or was that a Don thing, or
that track is a Don track that he had from years ago? No, that's all Don. That one.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be released on this one. It might end up being a bonus track, or who knows? Maybe if we end up doing another record, we'll get on that. Yeah.
Sure. Well, a couple of the songs that didn't make, the 10 that were chosen for this record, they were some of my favorite tracks that didn't make the record. And
there were some good ones there. You know what? It's like when they told, you have to play ball with the label, and they have a vision and a plan, and you can't, as the artist, you have to step back and sort of say, look, we're artists, and they know what they want. They know what they're doing when it comes to releasing albums and all that. And I had a label, and I can totally understand that they wanted to package it how they felt was right, and I don't disagree with how they did it. You got to respect it, and it's great that we have extra songs that can come out as bonus tracks or whatever, and down out in the future. So that's all cool.
Well, since I'm talking to you, and we're going to talk about things that people don't know anything about, as far as like the
you probably know more than me, so tell me some things I don't. So you already saw the liner notes, and I haven't. Does it say guitar Jon Levin?
It does. It does. But anyway, one song that didn't make the list either, and it's definitely my favorite song of all the songs in this whole grouping, was "It's Not Hard."
You're kidding?
Huh?
I can give you this backstory on that one. That was, the whole thing. This whole record really unfolded during COVID.
Right.
And we, in the past, Don lived close by to me, and when we would record, usually I would go to his place, and I'd have ideas, and I'd play them, and we'd sit around, order dinner, and then wait for a moment when something happens. Either I'll play him a riff, and he's like, starts humming something, and I was like, that's cool, and I'll put it on the handheld, or he'll have something and say, you know what, he used to noodle around to show me something, whatever, So we collaborate like that, But because of first of all, Don moved, so we don't live near each other, but we would have gotten to but for the COVID thing, I'm sure I'd have been going out to see him and vice versa. He did come here a couple of times, but we got stuck in the pandemic, and which was obviously horrible for everybody. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I got all this downtime. I just got my studio going, and every day I was in the studio. Like the whole time went so fast for me because I recorded so much music, you know. And the It's Not Hard track was something I had, and I wasn't going to play that one for Don at all. I had, you know, when I don't try to govern myself. Like if I write something and it turns out I think, you know what, this sounds like it's something that could work for Doc, and then I'll play it for Don. So there's a lot of things that just go away that I never even play for him.
Right.
So there was 3 tracks in this record that I wasn't ever going to even play for him. One of them was It's Not Hard. And what we did was, like, after the pandemic was over, Don flew out here. We got a mic set up in my studio. I never really did any vocals in here. I only would do, you know, guitar, bass, drums, which I would program on a drum machine, and bass, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Don's like, let's get a vocal mic set up in there. So we screwed around all day, going to Guitar Center, getting headphone mixes and the whole thing. That took a day, half a day, whatever. So we got that set up, and I said, hey, I got this song. It's in like a very, very odd time signature. I forgot what it was. It's like 7/8 or something. But that's not like rock music, man. Rock music's usually what's called 4/4, you know, 4 beats a measure. So I played him that one thinking he's going to be like, yeah, it's really cool for some avant-garde band, but not right. And I would have, and if he said, I'd have been like, yeah, I thought you were going to say that. That's what I thought. But I played it for him, and then Don is, first of all, everyone knows he's an incredible talent, but there's a lot more to him as a musician than you may even realize. Like, I put the track on, and that track, along with 3 or 4 or 5 other ones I played him, he just started out with the lyrics and melody, boom. And with Don, if you don't catch it on record right away, you wait 10 minutes, that is gone. So fortunately, I put the track on. The ones that come to mind like that, It's Not Hard one happened like that. Fugitive. I put Fugitive on. I'm a fugitive from life. He sang that right at the bat. I don't even know if he realized it was good. I turned around. We're in this room right here, and I turned around and I said to him, "Dude, that's freaking great." And he's like, "Okay, just put it on again." And you know, I don't think he really realized that one was really good. I recognized that one as being really good quickly. Like, I felt that right away when he hit that one. I just felt in my heart, oh, that really was appealing to me. You know. Hard Over the Mountain and God, everything's escaping me.
Like a Rose,
Saving Grace. Over the Mountain and Saving Grace were 2 other tracks I had that I thought were throwaways. I thought Over the Mountain was in left field. I didn't think he was going to like that one, but I said to him, Don, this was another session he came in. I'm like, I got 2 tracks. I don't think you're going to like them. Let me just play them for you fast. We'll get them out of the way. And I put the Over the Mountain thing on. He started singing that one. And he said to me, he goes, I love it. It reminds me of, I think he said, it reminds me of Gary Moore. Okay. So, you know, I mean, I've been around the block at this point in the music business, and I'm telling you, there's not a lot of guys that can sit down and blow out lyrics and melodies. And those are the lyrics and melodies that you're hearing. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not saying that he didn't keep those takes like he might have, you know, that was he left here taking that. That was the starting point. I guarantee you a lot of those lines he sang right off the cuff are on the record.
Right on. For you, Jon, how this record, at least to my ear, is far different for you as a player, because it's one of the few times, in fact, it's really the only time I could think of, where there's not an element of trying to sound like Lynch, for lack of a better term. You really have your own sound completely away from, and you know what I mean? Like, you know, you've done records where it's literally been here, sound like George Lynch, and this one's totally different. Did that make it,
I agree with you.
Did that make it more comfortable for you, or?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but every interview I'm doing, people still say it sounds like George Lynch.
Well, they're wrong, but
I think if you took that solo section out and someone just played it for you, you really think you would think that sounds like George Lynch? Because frankly, I don't think so. I just don't think it does. But maybe because it's under the Dokken umbrella, I'm sort of like that's just how it is, and that's all cool. Everyone, that's not. It's all good to me as long as someone likes it. It's all cool. I personally don't feel it from that perspective, but.
Well, I don't see how they could even think remotely. It sounds like Lynch. It's when you did Lightning Strikes Again, that sounded like Lynch because that's what it was supposed to sound like. This sounds very much like, even like take the solo from Fugitive. You are ripping on it, but it's totally your own thing. It's not like anything else you've ever played.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, on this one, I think seriously, I really feel like the whole COVID-19 vibe put a whole different perspective. Everyone was stuck in their places, and I think you really sort of get inside. I just sort of tapped into something inside myself that brought some creativity to me, and let me feel like I'm just going to do what I do. So
as you should. And if somebody wants to make any kind of comparison, just pull up the Lynch Mob Babylon release and pull up the Dokken Heaven Comes Down release, and you see that they're what George is doing on Babylon is not exactly the most stellar work.
I haven't heard it. I don't.
And even if you did, you wouldn't admit it.
Well, man, there was some nights we played together. Boy, he smoked, man. He's a wonderful talent,
Well,
sure.
I mean, there's no doubting what George does. Is when George does George, there's nobody better.
Yeah, he's great, man. Great.
Right on.
Yeah,
So
we had fun times too on the road playing together. So
right. Well, John, and we never really talked about this on the air. I'll ask, and you can answer as far or as not far as you want to.
Okay.
But during COVID, there were some other things outside of Dokken being floated around with you, that you were, I'll say, tinkering with. Is any of that going to come to fruition that people hear, or did that kind of come and go, or?
During the COVID thing, frankly, like I wrote really like 36 songs.
Okay.
A lot. So, who knows? Anything's possible one day, but for right now, we just got this one coming out today.
Right.
Who knows what the future brings, Maybe we'll do another Dokken record, but who knows? We'll have to see.
Right. Right on, man. So, dude, the touring cycle of Dokken is never ending. It's it's just a circle of playing and playing and playing. And I'll say, unfortunately, just because, as a fan of the band, I would love to hear like a set of deep tracks, but you do get kind of forced into playing. There's 10 songs in the set you can't take out. Yeah. But are there going to be opportunities to work in some of the fresher tracks to make it fresher for you guys on when you're playing?
Yeah, I hope so. I spoke to Don today, and we said we're going to do Fugitive and Gypsy starting next show. We're going to
nice
now check in. We probably might not put both of them in, but I think we're going to put in Fugitive start there. But we shot those. We shot last week. I mean, as you know, Wendell Neeley, we shot 4 videos in one day, and when we were up there playing these songs, or not really playing them, but listening to the songs, man, they felt really like they fit in the set, especially just all of them. But, Saving Grace really felt cool. So I think at this point we could start putting in some and taking out the other ones, some of the other ones. You know what I mean? It's time. And these songs are fit in with what we do and what we've been doing. And, it's breathe some fresh air into the set too, right?
Well, I agree, and that's the biggest disappointment for me personally as a fan of not only Dokken but other bands who come out with new music. They come out with a new record or a new release, and then they don't play any because the fans are so fickle anymore that, oh, if you didn't play Alone Again, or if you didn't play Just Got Lucky or something, I was really disappointed with the concert. I was disappointed with the show. Oh, they're playing a new song, Beer and Piss Break. you know, and then it's just like years ago, and you know, obviously you were in the mix playing with Warlock back in the day. Bands toured to promote the new record, and they added several songs from the new record in the set. But now, because bands are, you know, into the legacy years, now they can't do that anymore without the fans going, "Oh, I wanted to hear this song," or "I wanted to," you know.
That's what happens. I mean, as soon as you see, that's the problem. You play a new song, and you're gonna get some blank stares because certainly a lot of people aren't gonna have heard the new song, you know. So you play the new song, but then you don't play something else. There's only so much time. So then you take out something, and then someone says, "Oh man, why didn't you play that one?" So it's I guess it's a balance, but at this point we have to play some of these new songs. I mean, we're going to do that, and it's time to do that.
Yeah, right. The whole thing is that, you know, you've been in Dokken for 20 years, and you guys don't play any songs from any of the records that you personally recorded with the band.
Yeah, we never really did. Well, at some point we've done some, but they never stuck around for too long.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously Empire was, you know.
Right. We did Empire. We did Standing on the Outside for that record release. But
right.
Yeah, that's got to change. We got to start playing some. And these songs are good songs.
I mean, obviously, you know, the legacy of Dokken is the Lynch era, and obviously you play those songs extremely well. Are you ever disappointed that you don't get to add any of the songs that you personally were involved with into the set?
Well, I think at this point I would not really, but I would be disappointed if we didn't play these new songs.
Okay.
Some of them, because I feel like they just really fit into what we do, and in maybe a refreshed way, you know.
Right.
Songs fit into the Dokken catalog. I feel like you know, because so much time has gone by. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like some of the songs, like they've taken on a life of their own for me. Do you know what I mean? Like it becomes its own entity, and that's something that can only happen over time. For people who just got the record because it just came out yesterday or something like that,
right?
You know, it takes time for that to happen. You know, but remember, a couple of years I've been hearing these already, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, Neeley mentioned Warlock and Doro Pesh. I just talked to Doro, I don't know, a week or so ago, and she had great things to say about you. You know, I just mentioned that I knew you, and she's like, "Oh, Jon is so lovely," you know, as she does. But dude, can you believe that she has been doing it for 40 years at this point? Is that incredible or what?
You know what? She is absolutely the best, man. There is no, I went, you know, there. First of all, there is no one out there who gives more than she gives at a gig. I'm serious. Like,
right.
She gives 1,000% every second, every song. It's just unbelievable, you know. It's really incredible, you know. And she's a genuine talent, and there's nothing that she does that's fabricated. Everything that she does genuine.
Yeah, dude, I was telling Neeley this the other day. You know, we do the interviews and then you have the after chat for 5 minutes or whatever. And we were just chatting and she was just pulling up, you know, she's been doing this 40 years. She has 25 albums or whatever. She's like, "Oh, look at this. This is the CD and here's the inside and look at this." I mean, she was so excited, and it's like, man, you've done this a zillion times, you know. Yeah. She is, you know. She told me this, and I think it's really true with her. She lives it. That's all she lives is her career.
That she's married to rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
You know, God, looking back at the times I played with her, you know, was a long time ago. It was 88 and 89, and we did we did a headlining European tour. And that was my first world tour I ever did, real tour, you know.
Right.
You know, all of a sudden I was just this kid from New York playing in clubs for, you know, 1,000 people or 800 people or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, you know, we're opening up for Ozzy Osbourne. You know.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a pretty big jump pretty fast, which was great, you know. That was just a great tour. And the band at the time was a really great band. It was Bobby Rondinelli, who was in Rainbow, drummer.
Right.
Drums, and Tommy Henriksen, who's an old dear friend of mine, on bass, you know, and he's in Alice Cooper's band now, and for a long time already, actually. Yeah, the band just smoked.
how is it that you got involved with Doro to begin with, going back a little bit in your history?
Yeah.
How did you get involved with that to begin with? I mean, you're one kid in New York playing the clubs, like so many other kids in New York playing the clubs, and you got to be the guy.
Yeah, I was lucky. Here's what happened. I was in this club band. I went to college for 2 years, got into this business program, dropped out when I was 20 years old. So I got in this band when I was 19 with guys that were older than me. The bass player was Greg Smith, who you guys may know. I mean,
I know Greg.
Yeah, Ted Nugent forever. So we have a long history. And he was older than me, and I was younger. So to me, he was like really famous on Long Island. He was in this local club band, and I got into a band with Greg and these two other guys, Frank Vestry and Charlie Ambrosia. We were in this band called Devious, and we got a pretty big local following. We were selling out clubs, and we were probably poised to get a record deal, but record deals weren't coming that readily to New York bands like they were to Los Angeles-based bands in the 80s. Other than Twisted Sister and Zebra, not that many bands from New York got signed, just a handful. Comparatively, when you look at it compared to LA. So we started selling out clubs after a while, and then one day, Tommy Henriksen called me, and he said, "Hey, I'm in Warlock, and we need a guitar player." And he'd seen me play in the clubs, and he said, "I saw you play, and I really think you're a great player, and I'd love to see. Would you come down? I'm just telling you, like with this band, when they tell you something, it happens." I remember that he told me that, right? So then I said, "Oh yeah, all right, man, let's do it." So I got together with him and learned the songs. When Triumph and Agony had just come out, so the band was on its way up, and then went down to SIR Studios and played. And then the next day after I played, Doro came down. Next day after I played, I got a phone call from this guy, Alex Grobe, who was Doro's manager at the time, from his assistant. I didn't know who Alex Grobe was. So she goes to me, she said, "Yeah, Alex Grobe's on the phone for you." And I'm thinking, I'm like, who's Alex Grobe? I didn't. And then he gets on the phone and he said, "Yeah, Doro loved you. Would you come into the New York City and meet with me?" So I'm like, "Yeah, let's." So I came in there and he said, "Yeah, we want to offer you the job. Doro absolutely loved you, and just no drugs." That's what he told me. So yeah, that's how it started, man. And then next thing you know, man, we're writing in Manhattan to make that album. We wrote in Doro's apartment, and yeah, that was it. That's how it went.
You don't have to answer this if you don't, but do you remember what you got paid for that gig to be in the band?
It was millions, right?
I want to say it was like $350 a week.
Wow.
All year. And then they gave me a raise to like, I don't know, 550, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Did you think you made the big time making that money?
I actually, back then and even today, I never did music for money. I didn't care.
Well, regardless of that, I mean, you're a 20-year-old kid. Was $350 a lot of money for you?
No, it wasn't hardly a lot because, frankly, I mean, it was at that point, it was just enough for me to, I still had my own bills I had to deal with,
Sure.
I wasn't really making much, I remember when I finally moved out to LA, I'll put it this way, like, here's how it started. After the Warlock thing, eventually I make my way to Los Angeles, like 1991. So now I was maybe 25. So I moved out here and, I really didn't have any money. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys, right across from Kentucky Fried Chicken, and not the greatest area back then, we used to hear gunshots outside, and now it's a nice neighborhood, but back then it wasn't so great. And there was 3 of us in a 2-bedroom. The singer slept on the couch for this band I was in, right? And I was selling computer printer parts in like a boiler room operation, 4:30 in the morning it was tough. It wasn't like I had anything handed to me. I remember like I bought my first car for $1,800. I was just happy to have some way of driving around, And my friends and I, we used to, take the bus from Van Nuys to the Sunset Strip, which took like an hour or something, Crazy. We'd be sneaking like Jack Daniels in our jackets onto the bus to drink on the bus or something. Yeah.
That's funny. So what? And again, here's another one. You don't have to answer, but why did you end up leaving that gig, the Warlock gig?
Okay, no, I'm happy to answer. So we finished that European tour, and then they wanted to right away start another tour.
Mm-hmm.
So Gene Simmons was going to produce the next record.
Okay.
And I can tell you a couple funny stories. So we started writing with Gene. He wanted to hear like our ideas, so we all got together in Doro's apartment. It was Tommy, Bobby, Doro, myself, and Gene.
Okay.
And I know I remember I was a kid, and it was a holiday. I had to go home, so I told Gene, like, I got to go home. My mother said I can't stay out. But he understood, So I remember he calls my house, and my back then we didn't have cell phones. I was working I was always a worker as a kid, always working to try and save money to buy my next guitar. That was always what it was for me.
Right. Okay.
Well, I got to get this Charvel, So I worked. I was a hard worker, And I came home from work. I was really tired. I went to lie down because I was exhausted. And then I hear my mother calling me, Jonathan, Gene's on the phone. So yeah, it was Gene calling, and I remember he said to me that he wanted me to play with an Angus Young type guitar tone,
Right.
So and I remember thinking, as soon as he said that to me, I remember thinking, I'm out. Can't do that. So I had this other singer I knew, this guy Eric St. Michael's, really nice guy, cool looking dude, man, front man, and Tommy is a very hard worker, and we used to write songs together all the time. So we wrote some songs, and all of a sudden, it's like we did a demo, the 3-song demo, and Bobby played on it, and Eric sang on it. And I don't know what we were thinking, but we just wanted to, whatever. We did a demo. Next thing you know, we got signed to Atlantic Records.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden, it's like we had to tell Doro, that was it. We all left to do this thing, this project on Atlantic Records, And unfortunately, that never ended up coming out. We got caught up in the trappings of the music business. No one's fault in the band.
Right.
That's just how it is. And then eventually, I started another band, and I was going to move out here to Los Angeles. And all of a sudden, Greg Smith, who's a good friend of mine, he's in Alice Cooper, calls me up and says, "John, Vinnie Moore just quit. I already spoke to the guys here. You're in. We're doing the Meadowlands Red Rocks in 2 weeks. You're in. Want the gig? You're in." And I'm like, oh. And as I'm talking to him, I'm looking at my new singer and bass player who just flew in from Los Angeles and started on my kitchen table. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I had just gotten. At that point I wanted to have my own band.
Right.
So then, moved out here. And then what happened was, we were playing clubs out here, building a following, was going well. And then all of a sudden, Smells Like Teen Spirit hit. And then it wasn't cool to have guitar solos anymore. And all I ever wanted to do was this, play.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden that didn't matter anymore. Like it almost wasn't even cool to have guitar solos. Right.
Yeah.
So once that happened, I was like, okay, don't know what I'm going to do now. And I remember I spoke to my father, and he's like, well, hey, you got 2 choices. You could either work in the record store or go to law school. Like that was the gamut of choices. Law school, nothing else in between, nothing, just those 2 things. Right. So I got sort of nervous about, not being able to pay the rent. Like I said, there was 3 of us living in a 2-bedroom.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't any luxury, man. I got by. My grandmother, used to send me a couple $100 a month, so I was able to have a roof over my head.
Wow.
So that's how that went. And I went to law school.
Look at that. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, did it? Yeah, no, it did. I went to law school, really put the guitar thing behind me. I really didn't play much in law school. Law school in itself was like super full time. And then after that happened, I met Jeff Pilson because my friend Tommy Henriksen was in a band with Jeff Pilson.
Right.
They were roommates together, living. I think Tommy was living in Jeff's house, and we became friends with Jeff. And then one day I go to my dad's for dinner. I'm in a suit and tie. I was in court or something earlier that day. I call my office voice machine and I have a message from Jeff asking. All I remember the message saying is something like, "Hey man, we lost our guitar player. Can you come down and play a couple songs?" But he didn't say it was Doc for Dokken, you know.
Okay.
Or had he done that, I think I would have been. I would never even have called or gone, you know.
Right.
So my dad asked me, like, "Oh, any interesting messages?" I'm like, "Yeah, a friend of mine, asked me if I come play some guitar solos or something." And my dad's like, "Go." I'm like, "Go? I'm not gonna go. I don't look. I'm working. I haven't played guitar in 2 years. I'm not gonna go play guitar." He was like, "Go." So I drove down there. I took the tie off, threw that in the back seat. I still had the suit on. I had no other clothes on me. I go down what happened to be Don's studio. So I knock on the door. Studio door opens, and there's Don with a Les Paul. Just hands the Les Paul like out the door. Like, and I'm like, "Whoa, can I hear the track?" He's like, "No, it's an E." That's what he said to me. "No, it's solo, it's an E." So I would imagine he was probably really skeptical about, an attorney coming down to play on his stuff. But there was the Maddest Hatter. There was a demo of the Maddest Hatter, a different version.
Right.
I played solo on that, and then there was this song called the Irish Song, which I hear was some Japanese release, and I haven't heard that. This was 1998,
Right.
That's how the Dokken thing happened. And from there, then 2 weeks later, Jeff called me and said, "Hey man, we're headlining the Dallas Starplex for 20,000 people. Can you learn the set in 2 weeks?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could do it."
Nice.
That's how that whole thing happened. Actually, if you want more, I can even give you more interesting stories.
Sure.
The hell in a handbag. We played after we rehearsed a couple of times. Jeff came to my house. We rehearsed as a band a few times in Don's studio. Then Don's like, "Oh, we were going to play a tune-up gig at Don's." Don owned a club, a restaurant club called the Stakeout, the Redondo Beach Stakeout.
Okay.
I'm not from Redondo Beach. It's a whole other area, very confusing to get around if you don't know it down there, which I didn't at all. And so Don called me and said, "Yeah, so we're going to play at my club. It's on the corner of such and such, Artesia and something." I don't remember, I didn't know those areas. I'm like trying to find a pen to write it down. And it's like, "Yeah, I thought he said Redondo Beach Steakhouse." Right? But he said Redondo Beach Stakeout. So we drive down there. I drove down with my girlfriend, Kim, at the time, driving around for hours. I can't find the place. We were supposed to play a gig at Don's club I'm supposed to be there at 8:00 or something. So now it's 8:30. I said to her, "Let's just go home." We're going into gas stations saying, "Hey, where's the Redondo Beach Steakhouse?" And no one heard of it. So then we're driving home, and then all of a sudden Kim, she looks at this parking lot, sees a crowd of people. She's like, "Wait a second. What are all those people doing in that parking lot?" She's like, "Wait a second, is it called the Stakeout?" I'm like, "That must be it." If I would have missed that gig, I never would. Come on. They would have been like, "Forget this guy."
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just by that slight chance that I actually end up being in this band for 20-something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, meeting you for the first time, playing with Dokken, because Don invited me out on the road, and you guys were doing a kind of like a weekend run over Memorial Day. And
what year was this?
This was 2003, 2000.
Oh, yeah, that was Greg Smith playing bass?
Yeah. He was playing bass.
I remember those shows. We played in Vegas.
Yeah, and Orange County. We played at Orange County. We went to Tucson. We went to.
Right. That was the first time I met Warren, who by the way, I had dinner with him last night.
Nice.
But that was the night we became friends. That was the night we met.
Yeah. Well,
that night. Yeah.
That's the first time I met you, obviously, and it was a four gig weekend. And Don called me and he says, "Hey, we got a tour bus. We're doing a little West Coast run. We're playing Orange County, Tucson, Phoenix, and we're going to end up in Las Vegas. You want to come ride with us?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll get on a plane. I'll come out." And that's when
we met.
That's when we met.
That was May of 2003.
Yep. It was.
And then we went to Europe right before or after that. We did the Bangerhead Festival.
Right.
And Greg Smith was playing bass with us.
Yep.
Yeah. It was May of 2003.
Yeah, so it's
before Hell to Pay. Before we were probably writing Hell to Pay at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glad to know you, Jon.
And I can't believe we met that long ago. It's crazy, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
I remember that you're right. We had a bus on that run.
It was a brand new bus too. It still had that new bus smell.
Not when we were done with it, right? We didn't have the greatest history with tour buses, I'll tell you, boy. We had one bus driver abandon us at a gig. Couldn't take it anymore. He just left us. We got off stage. Where's the bus? All our gear was on the ground. Guy took off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm serious. Well, you know, we deserved it. Not of anything I did, frankly. But
what transpired? If you can just give us a little.
Oh, let me see. We had one merch guy on the bus with us, and I don't know what he was thinking, but he it was a beautiful new bus with like ivory color leather, you know.
Yeah.
And he took a Sharpie and started writing like your girl's numbers on the leather. You know, like who? And then he didn't have a hotel room. I think he slept on the bus when we would have hotel rooms. I guess he tried to plug his laptop into the bus power, like he rigged something up.
Oh yeah, he cut into the wiring harness.
Yeah, and he blew the electricity on the whole bus. I guess because one's AC and one's DC, you can't do something like that. And he blew the whole system out. And then, every night, Don and I, we would chat in the front of the bus usually together, And eventually Don would fall asleep. He'd have a glass of wine in his hand. He'd be lying on the couch, and there'd be a wine stem with a glass of red wine in there between his fingers like this. And he'd be, like nodding off, and, the wine's going like this. And, so I think that bus driver just said, you know what, forget these guys, man. And sure enough, he did forget us. Then we had an emergency. We had to get another bus. And we got this next bus. And this thing, man, was just like a 40-foot long tuna can. It had no air conditioning. It was a Silver Eagle, very old.
Right.
Very old. Air conditioning didn't work. And there we were. We had to drive from the Southwest. It was boiling hot to New Orleans.
Oh.
We had to do that. We did that drive with no air conditioning, man. And we were and the windows didn't open either because they were so cold. So we were just absolutely dying, man. So we got rid of that bus, and then we get to bus 3. Yeah, that tour was just an absolute. Anyway.
Was this during the Poison tour?
No, that was 2003. I think it was the Hell to Pay tour.
Okay.
I think it was Hell to Pay.
Yeah.
Right. LA Guns opened up for us, I think.
Oh, yeah. That was was that the VH1 Metal, or it was supported by Metal Edge tour, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't remember.
It was LA Guns, Warrant, Firehouse, Dokken, and Rat.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Huh. You remember better than me.
That's why Don asked that I be a consultant on this Dokken movie they're working on.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
He says, you remember everything. He says, I'm just giving them your number.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah. Well, Jon, tell us a little bit about the standouts for this new record for you. I mean, obviously you mentioned a few of the songs, but what is it about this record that personally is a standout for you as far as like your personal satisfaction with it? Because obviously you recorded Lightning Strikes, Hell to Pay, also Empire or Broken Bones rather, and now this one. And would you say this is your most satisfying release with Dokken as a Dokken?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I really felt as we were recording it that we had some sort of lightning in a bottle here. And I think that, Don made a really good decision. He told me, don't re-record any of the guitar parts. All those rhythms were my demos, Okay. And I think he made a super good decision because when he said that to me, I was really relieved. I'm like, you know what? I agree with you. Don't re-record them. Because anytime you try to re-record something, you're making a facsimile of something. You know, you have to learn it and redo it, and you can't recreate what you did. You know what I mean? When you have something that sounds good and feels good, leave it. That doesn't matter, demo, no demo. That's how I'm a firm believer in that. You know, it's otherwise you start chasing your tail and trying to recreate. I even notice, like, sometimes, you know, when I write, I record everything on here. You know, when I come up with the riff, put it on here. So sometimes, like, even getting it off this and onto a session file, that's a transition. And sometimes I can't get what I had on there into there.
Right.
You know, but then so now it goes from here to there. I'm pointing to my Pro Tools studio, right? So now it goes from Pro Tools. Now you got it in there. Now you want to relearn it and do it again. So that's second facsimile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're going to redo it 3 more times and try and make it perfect. And you know, I think, you know, it doesn't work for me. I like off the cuff. And I think Don works the best also off the cuff. I said to him, man, I think you write the greatest stuff when he's feeling it and he's in it, it just comes out of him. You know, a lot of times when you try with music, for me, I know Don's the same way. You can't try. It's got to be when it comes. You know, comes through musicians, whatever. When it's genuine and it comes in, you got something genuine. You sit down and force it and try to come up with something that maybe it works for other people, never worked for me. Doesn't work. Sounds forced.
Well, I've heard Don ad-lib lyrics. Like one time I picked him up and I had the brand new Iron Maiden record. And, you know, I said, I got the new Iron Maiden record. He's like, well, how is it? I go, well, here, let me play you some. As soon as I start playing the Iron Maiden record, he starts ad-libbing lyrics to the song.
Yeah, and probably incredible, right?
It was just...
No, I'm telling you, how many people... I've played with a lot of musicians, man. Most people cannot do that. I'm telling you, most people can't do that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I hope Don doesn't hear this. I don't want him to
Well, you know, I know, you know, obviously you've known Don a long time. I've known Don for almost 30 years, and he's definitely a character to be around, especially when he's in his groove, man, because there is nobody funnier. Nobody tells.
And nobody with more stories. I call it the Book of Don.
That's what I said. I've known him for close to 30 years, and he still tells me stories that I've never heard.
Yeah. You know? Oh, he's got to write a book, man. Right?
I agree. The
amount of stories, God, the amount of things I've lived through and forgotten. I mean, I remember some of the more prominent ones, but man, there's been so many events that have happened over the course of this that are, you know, comical, I mean, hard to believe. You know, we've been through a lot over this past 20 years, man. I mean, almost all died in a plane crash. Probably you know about that.
When you were playing at the Farm Rock Fest over here in Illinois.
Yeah, we were touring with Rat. Yeah, that was pretty ugly. Yeah, but we lived through it, luckily, right?
Yeah. Maybe the Jon Levin book's going to be coming soon.
This is my book, right? I don't have the patience. You know, my brain just goes to. I'm just all over the place. You know, I'm a multitasker. You know, I get 6 things done. But, you know, it's like putting 6 jigsaw puzzles on the floor, and I put 2 pieces in each puzzle, go to the next puzzle, 2 pieces. I can't finish one puzzle. I just start, you know, that's how I work.
Right.
I get them all done, but, you know, it's almost like by accident.
Nice.
You know? Same thing with recording, you know, like when it comes to, like, doing the solos, I have to feel some sort of pressure. So, like, I'll have a lot of takes on, you know, on a lot of tracks. For example, like, what I do is I'll just play. So I'll do like 5, if I feel good, I'll do 5, 6 passes on song number 1, Gypsy, whatever, right? I don't listen to it. Another 2 weeks later, I want to play a little bit, throw up Gypsy. I do 6, 7, 8 more passes. And I'll amass 25 takes, you know? I don't want to go through them. You know? So now it's like there's 10 songs. I did it for, well, some, not for every song, but figure I did that for 6, 7 songs. And I got to go through 250 tracks. And then finally, listen, this is when it'll happen. Don will call me, John, you got to get it done. Okay. Then I got some pressure. I'll get it done.
Nice.
Well, Well, John, obviously, you've been in the band as long as you have. Have you enjoyed the experience? Is there any other band that you go, man, I wonder what it'd be like to play with those guys,
No.
or are you glad you are where you're at?
Yeah, this was the right one for me, man. Yeah.
Well,
Because you know what? You know how you know it's the right one? Well, you just know when you know. But Dokken, it's never been work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's just been one big long adventure.
It has been.
I'm just being serious,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I enjoy coming out and being on the road with you guys, and obviously we see each other at least a half a dozen times or more a year, and it's always an adventure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you live it. He knows. So yeah. But I'm really, really pleased with this album, and yeah, I just feel like there's some really deep stuff on here, and I love the lyrical content. I mean, I just love what Don did with like Gypsy, really clever angle. Do you know what I mean? Where everyone else, a lot of other bands are writing about common things. I mean, he comes up with a song about a gypsy.
Right.
I mean,
well, the way that I describe, this record to a lot of people, obviously the legacy of the band, it was back in the day where it was, party and rock and roll and stuff. This record is definitely for the maturing, aging Dokken fan. I mean, it's got mature lyric content. It's got meaningful lyrics. And it's relatable as far as like a somebody who's been through a lot in their life, and maybe they can appreciate the wisdom of the record. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. You know what else about this one works for me? We got to a finished product that's satisfying for me, and I think for Don too. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. Like in a recording process, right? And anything along the way can go wrong and throw the whole thing to hell in a handbag, So you can get, so what I mean is like you can get all the tracks recorded and done, right? But like everything still has to go right in the mixing, and everything still has to go right in the mastering. And for example, like in Broken Bones, the final tracks really sounded good, and we had some really good songs in there, and I really liked it. But then I ended up being pretty unhappy with the finished product because I didn't like the mastering in it. I felt like it just was really too bottomy, and it felt like it was run through some mill of like a modern kids, hardcore metal thing. No, there's anything wrong with that, but that's not the right approach for this. That's not. It was the right sonic approach, and I know Don didn't like it either. So I just was like, oh man, this is bumming me out. I'm like, let's not do any more albums. Because it takes so long,
Right.
And you try so hard, and then it's just such a letdown when something like that happens, or when you get a label that at the time that Broken Bones came out, I had some issues. We couldn't tour. I had some issues. Don had some issues. I called the record label up. I'm like, hey, can you guys wait? But it's just, you got to go. That's just the music business. Everyone has, it's a business. I understand that, but it's just disheartening, disheartening.
Right.
And that's why, at least for me, had Don not have pushed this, I would have been like, let's never do another record. I'm honest,
Right.
But then the COVID thing happened, and all of a sudden, it felt like the right vibe to do it. Everything for me, like when I finally learned how to do drums in Pro Tools, that was just like a big hurdle for me, because now it's like, okay, I can record.
Right.
So it was really about that. So for me anyway, once I figured out how to do that, then I was real psyched, because I had amassed so many ideas in here, and I just, anytime I came up with something in here that I felt could work for Dokken, I would label it with Dokken, Dokken idea. So like, okay, I just started scrolling through them, I had so many of them. So was sort of exciting. It was sort of an exciting time, you know.
Well, were you?
It's horrible, you know. But in my own little bubble of trying to create.
Well, were you excited about the fact that Kevin Shirley was working on this record with you guys?
Yeah, you know, here's what was interesting about it. Yes, very excited about it, and he's in Australia, so the time difference. Don would call me at strange times. Okay, we got to approve this mix. We got to do it right now. Get to your car. I'm sending you a track. Put in your car, right? And the way Kevin mixes is he does it old school. Like he's got a Neve or an SSL console. I don't know which, but he's got a giant mixing console, you know, and outboard gear. I don't know if I'm talking over your heads, but you know, racks of gear.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to today, most people have Pro Tools. You know, you want to make a change in Pro Tools? Yeah, no problem. I'll open up the session file and lower one thing, change to that, done. Takes 5 minutes, right? But when you're working with a giant mixing console, once he's got it off the board, that's it. Because all the outboard gear changes settings. You know, even if there's recall, I think, on the console, but it's not as easy because he'd have to get all the outboard settings right. You know, so we'd have to get it approved. That's it. Like, you know, this is the mix. Go listen right now in your car. Okay, I listened, call back Don. All right, I like it, but I think make this a little vocals too low, whatever. Like, give them my quick comments. So they send another draft. And that's how we did it.
Yeah, I mean, he shared some of those with me and gave me the opportunity to give my 2 cents. And here, listen to this real quick. Let me know what you think. And it's like, I don't like that. You know, the bass is too loud in this mix, or the vocals are too low in the mix, or this, that, and the other. You know, so he allowed me to have a little bit of input. And
so I remember playing you stuff too with the mastering.
Yeah.
We mastered this record like 40 times. No, like that. You know what? I love that Don was willing to go that far because maybe he felt also like we didn't, you know, I'm sure he felt the same as I. Like, let's not fall short on this one, you know. Let's do it and get it right, because we had it mastered a bunch of times, and Don sent it to me. I'm like, and famous people were mastering it. I don't want to say who, but he said, "You like this?" I'm like, "No, I don't like it."
Right?
I'm honest. I'm like, I said, "Do you like it? It sounds flat to me and dead." He's like, "Yeah, I don't think I like." You know. Went to the next guy. You like this one? I'm like, Don, it's just like bass hell. The bass is sucking up the whole album. He's like, I'm like, don't you agree? So then he went to the next guy, you know? And finally we got someone to do it, and, you know, everything jumped out of the tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the mix that's used for this record is just, it's punchy. It's in your face. It just gives you a nice kick in the ass. And it's got a nice what do you want to call it?
It's warm.
It's got a good even mix to it, you know.
Yeah, it's warm because he did it on old school console, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin really put together a product to me that works as a whole. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like the whole track complements Don's vocal well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only so much space when you're mixing. Like, you got this much space. If something's this loud, then you only got this much left. Like, there's only so much, you know. And it's like putting a puzzle together. And it's remarkable because, you know, you make one little change for something. It could be a little change, you know, whatever it may be. You know what? Yeah, I think we get a little more of this on the snare drum or something. And all of a sudden, like, okay, now how come we don't hit the lead vocal anymore? Like, everything's just a house of cards, you know.
Yeah.
And I really feel like he delivered something that, you know, I know I'm happy with it. When I put it on in my car, I'm like, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, well, we drove around in my car, and, you know, I got a Bose stereo system in my car, and it sounded awesome.
By the time I was playing you those tracks in the car, honestly, I didn't even know what I wasn't. I knew what I liked, but there had been so many renditions of it at that point. You know, Don kept sending me more stuff, and I got to a point where I'm thinking, man, I don't know. I'm getting confused. Like, I can't keep track anymore of all the versions. You know, I don't even know what I'm hearing anymore. And so, the only really way to tell is like you got to sort of A/B it to like something else, but I don't remember which one was which. And I just knew when we had the last version that Don sent to me, I'm like, Don, this one's it. I mean, it sounds great in every system. Everything came alive.
Yeah, I agree.
As opposed to bringing everything down and everything, because a lot of the other ones, it was all dying. I'm like, why does it all feel so dead?
Yeah. It had no life or
right.
no nothing to it.
All the bite came out of it. Like everything sounded soft. So yeah, you know what I mean by that. Like, the guitar crunch was gone and the sibilance on the lead vocal went away. I'm like, it just wasn't fun to listen to. So,
well, I'm glad the decision was made to use the version that they did, because
I agree.
I think I know I had given Chris both different mixes, and he overwhelmingly said, yeah, this is the one.
You gave me two, and one of them just sounded like it was bricked, just and the other one just, you could hear the little nuances, the little everything from little guitar picking things to vocal nuances, everything. You could just hear a lot better, and it made for a more complete sound.
Yeah, if you get the nuances, that's always really good, man. It makes it way more interesting than when all those things just become lost.
They do.
Yeah, there's a lot of times you're recording and you're doing these little bit parts. You're thinking, why am I doing this? Like, no one's ever given me to hear this in there. And then you get a mix back. It's like, wow, man, that 12-string thing I put in, I actually hear it. That's sort of cool,
Yeah,
sure.
That's the important part about it. But let's get into something that you guys haven't done really a whole lot of since you've been in the band is the whole music video thing.
Let's do it.
I mean, obviously you guys did Fugitive, which Don spent a lot of his personal money on doing that, and it's a very high def video, and I thought it was very well done. I know there were more things that he wished he could have had done with that video, but the record label was pushing him so hard for the final release of that. And obviously the guys in the video, you had a part in the video where you're kind of like leading the way in the video. And what was your thoughts on the concept and being an actor in the video?
Well, look, we're musicians. We're not actors. So to do something like that, it feels odd because, we're just musicians, man. Chris Eyre, the guy that directed it, super, super nice guy, directs Dark Winds, that AMC show Dark Winds, and, you just got to trust in someone like that when they ask you to do something. Because a lot of the things he was having me do, I remember thinking, man, I feel real awkward doing this. You know what I mean? Like from the beginning when I'm coming down that hallway and trying to, play, I'm not an actor.
Right.
So it felt a little unusual, but looking at like the finished product as a whole, I really feel like it fits within the Dokken category of videos from back in the day. Like if you look at like the Nightmare on Elm Street video or some of the other ones, or Heaven Sent, this one could easily fit in with all of those. It was the right vibe for what we did, what we needed. I feel like that,
And then obviously the last weekend you guys filmed 4 songs, that'll be released over the next 4 or 5 months.
Videos for this record.
To keep people mindful of the record, because I know you guys are, in negotiations to go over to Europe, and I know Don is trying to keep this, record in the forefront of the people's minds. So, I was telling Don to use a David Lee Rothism, in this day and age with records not being getting the spotlight that like they used to back in the day. It's like the record came out today and it's gone later today.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want.
We could stick around for a couple weeks at least, right?
Yeah, he goes. I mean, look at that AC/DC record, that Power Up record. It was a very strong AC/DC record, and that thing went away within a matter of weeks.
Yeah, well, hopefully with these videos we'll be able to, keep it fresh and keep it going forward. I mean, That's a lot of videos. So we're gonna have 4 more, and there's 3, so we have 7 videos for a 10-song record. It's quite a bit, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the whole, participating in filming a video, you guys had to, do 4 or 5 hours worth of filming last week.
Yeah. After getting off a flight and playing late the night before. Yeah, it was definitely a long day. and then we had a show after the video shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to doing music videos, is that something that you like doing, or you just think it's a necessary evil, or if it's something that you go, man, I just hate the imagery of me being on screen, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, no, it was fun to do it. Of course, I like playing live, but it's something you do for the fans and to keep the songs out there. And it was fun to do. Don't really have, as far as look, I don't watch anything I do, so no. I just do it and move on.
Right. What are your thoughts about going to Europe? Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I really am. We haven't been there since we did Walk, and I can't remember if it was 17 or 18. I think it might have been 18. But we were planning on going back, but once the COVID thing came, that just threw everything out the window. There was no more, forget international travel. So yeah, we haven't been there, and so that would be 5 or 6 years by the time we're going to go. Totally looking forward to. I really am. Like, that's a tour I really, really am looking forward to. And
Sure.
Oh, we went away. Oh,
there he is. Whoops.
It would be great if we go back to Japan too.
Sure.
We haven't been there in a long time. And when I played there, when we did Loud Park, we played with George. That was the first time I met George, actually.
Really?
In the dressing room at that show.
You had to go around the world to meet him, huh?
Yeah.
Have you with Dokken? I know you played Japan, obviously. Have you played any other places out that side of the world, Korea or?
Yeah, we did Korea.
Okay.
We were supposed to go to Australia, but that for some reason I think didn't happen. But yeah, other than that, mainly just Europe, U.S., Canada. So we've done a bunch of South America in the past.
Right.
Yeah, we did Brazil. I think we did the Monsters of Rock there with Aerosmith.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
I just imagine there's a couple people at that show, right?
Yeah, it was a big show. That was probably, God, time's going so fast. That might have been 8 or 9 or 10 years ago already. Wow. Sao Paulo, I think was where it was.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Were you there now at that one?
I was not there, but
you know better than me. So yeah, other than that, Europe. I mean, a lot of we've done Europe many times. Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. Well, Jon, what else you got going on aside from the Dokken record? I know Chris had built you a cool website to be a little interactive.
Oh yeah, he's the best, isn't he, man?
to teach guitar lessons. Are you still actively doing that?
It's I keep having visions of wanting to be. I think recently I said to myself, you know what, might be a cool thing to like show people how to play some of these songs, some of the new Dokken songs. Might be cool to throw some of that up on the site. So I think I'm going to try and do that. Remember, like I'm busy with the Dokken thing, and then I'm also, I'm a lawyer too. So just between, I need more, like I need a 28-hour day, really.
Right.
Be like Chris, you sleep an hour, work 17 hours.
When I get up, it's still dark out. No, honestly.
Dude. Yeah, Neely's not kidding when he says I do like sleep an hour here, then I'll work 16, then I'll sleep 2 hours, then I'll do another 16, or I get to where I don't know if it's day or night. Sometimes when I get rolling, it's I'll go 10 days in a row and I won't know if it's I'll be looking for it to be Monday, and Neeley will be texting me going, "Hey, send me the links to the show." And I'm like, "Hey, what?" I won't even know it's Saturday. It gets lost.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Perfect, John. Well,
I'll come back and play maybe next time if you guys can talk me into it.
We would like to have you play anytime. That last
Anytime.
time you did, that was a lot of fun. So
yeah, that was really a blast.
Yeah, so let's plan on doing that again. I know we always say that. But let's really make that happen.
All right, I have to get out of my own head because I'm thinking, man, the fans, they're really going to be hard on me and try and stump me.
Well, John, I'm going to see you again in a few weeks. I'll be with you in Warren, Ohio on November 9th.
Great.
And you guys are playing in the Pittsburgh area. I believe that's the 9th. I think you're off the 10th. No, yeah, that's the 8th. November 8th, you'll be at Jurgles in the Pittsburgh area. Then November 9th, you'll be at the Red Robin Theater in Warren, Ohio. And then we're going to do a little road trip and go to Pierre's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so those of you who are in the Midwest, in the Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania area, you might get to catch Dokken doing a couple of the new songs.
Great. Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. So I will see you then. And then Chris is going off to see Metallica and Pantera.
Yeah. You guys, the one time you're close and I'm not in town, I'll be up in Detroit, up at the Metallica shows.
And Pantera's playing?
Yeah, it's Metallica, Pantera, and Wolfgang Van Halen.
And Zach is in Pantera.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That must be awesome, man.
That's got to be fun. It is.
That's killer. Awesome.
Well, perfect, John. The new release, Dokken, Heaven Comes Down. It's out now.
Oh, cool. Spin some tracks off it.
Well, I'm going to let you pick a song to take us out of the interview. And
Saving Grace.
Saving Grace.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about that one.
Oh, it's a heavy one, little bit maybe slightly Zeppelin-y influenced. Just a really cool groove and
it kind of has a Kashmir sound to it.
Yeah, a little bit, but yet I still feel like it fits within the Dokken camp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, John. Well, like I said, I'll see you in a few weeks, and go pick up the new record, Heaven Comes Down. If you appreciate a more mature, subject content of your music these days, and catch Dokken out on the road. They've only got 3 or 4 or 5 more dates this year, I believe. I believe you're doing the PA date, the Ohio date, the Indiana date. Then you're doing Las Vegas and Hollywood, wrapping up in the whiskey in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's coming to an end.
Yeah, so just a few more times to catch these guys on the road live, and it's always a fun time.
Yeah.
All right, John. Well, we'll play Saving Grace, and we'll get out of this interview, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks then.
Sounds great. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you having me on. Really.
All right. Well, here it is. It's brand new Dokken from Heaven Comes Down with Saving Grace, exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
Did you miss the live version of the Classic Metal Show this week? Well, don't worry. Catch full replays of the Classic Metal Show every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to noon Eastern. Video replay airs on CMS TV at www.cmstv.net, while the audio version can be heard on CMS Uncensored, which is available at www.cmsradio.net. Now is the time to catch up with this week's show, as the Classic Metal Show is available daily from 7 p.m. to noon Eastern. Hail and kill.